The regular hybrid meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District is now called to order. It is Tuesday, January 19th, 2021. The time is 5:15 p.m. Brianne, would you please call the roll?
Yes. I think Chris would be back. Sam, could you mute yours just to see that?
Can't hear you, Brianne.
Is that better as far as the echo goes? Are we still hearing it? Okay. I think Sam's microphone is very powerful.
Okay.
Commissioner Ernst?
Here.
Commissioner Engel?
Here.
Commissioner Rollins?
Here.
Commissioner Vogelsang?
Here.
And Commissioner Wright?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brianne. We're going to deviate a little bit from our regular agenda, and we have a proclamation for Mr. Gordon Gilbert.
Madam
Commissioner
Chairman?
Rollins is
Yeah.
going to lead us off with some comments, and then we will read the proclamation. Mr. Rollins.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. In the 34 years that I've personally known Gordon Gilbert, I've never known a more humble man and a more dedicated community servant. Through the people that I've come across that had been taught by Gordon when he was a biology teacher at Boca High, to the friends and neighbors that I come across in daily travels, no one has had an unkind word to say about this gentleman. And gentleman is perfectly apt to describe Gordon's trait. His dedication to the parks and to our community is unmatched by anyone on the commission. I could only hope that I'd be as dedicated a public servant as Gordon Gilbert has proven to be in his career. 90 years is certainly a huge milestone, and we've been blessed as a community to have Gordon work for us untirelessly for our parks and our communities. And certainly this proclamation just simply touches the surface of our thanks and gratitude for his years of service.
Thank you very much. Here is the proclamation. Whereas on behalf of the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District, I wish to record our deepest gratitude for the contributions of Mr. Gordon Gilbert to the Boca Raton community. Whereas Mr. Gilbert served as a dedicated public servant and volunteer in our community and was an elected commissioner for the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District for over a quarter of a century. He exemplified what it means to be an elected official working for the good of his constituents. Whereas his contributions to science are forever knitted into our history of the now renowned Gumbo Limbo Nature Center. His advocacy launched the Sea Turtle Rehabilitation Facility, and his devotion to science and recreation is his legacy. Whereas Mr. Gilbert is accomplished and well-respected, he has devoted over 46 years to our community and has led efforts to preserve over 1,000 acres of green space. He has worked alongside politicians, advocates, volunteers, and students to create a community that celebrates and preserves its history. Whereas his life and his advocacy for environmental education will transcend generations to come. Whereas the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District, along with Mr. Gilbert's friends, family, and generations of students are blessed to know him and be the beneficiaries of his dedication to preserving green space and promoting education and science. Now, therefore, I, Susan Vogelsang, Madam Chair of the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District, on behalf of the entire Board of Commissioners, in recognition of Mr. Gilbert's many contributions to our community and its citizens, do hereby proclaim our profound appreciation for his dedication to our community. And we will present this to Mr. Gilbert on Saturday here at Sugar Sand Park when he does his, he shows the family and friends, you know, what he has accomplished over this many years. Thank you very much, Mr. Gilbert, for all you have done for us. Okay, we come now to any changes to the agenda, commissioners,
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a change to the agenda.
and what would that be?
Madam Chair, I'd like to add an agenda item after the contract discussion, specifically for Ocean Breeze, future Ocean Breeze planning and meetings.
Okay. Mr. Gorin, is that acceptable to do that since it wasn't advertised?
Guys,
The answer is, if I may, can you hear me okay, Madam Chair?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The best answer is that it would be just an item which would be preliminarily discussed by the commissioner and bound over for further discussion or action at the next meeting. You can expose the item publicly tonight, but I'm suggesting that it's not on the agenda, therefore it's not been publicly available. To the extent that the commissioner would choose to do that, though, he would have the right to open that discussion and direct it to be placed on the next agenda for action.
Would it be more appropriate to do it during commissioners' reports?
That's up to the chair in the context of how you would choose to organize the agenda. You could do that as well.
Mr. Ernst, I think that since it wasn't advertised as such, that if you bring it up in your reports, it will still be put out there for the public.
No problem, Madam Chair. I can do that. I just then respectfully ask, why do we even have that item on the agenda to begin with? Changes to the agenda if you can't make it.
That would be more like taking something away.
So it could
Then-
only be
then
used
adding-
for taking things away?
That's what we have done in the past. Okay. Public requests. Brianne, you have one, and I will mute myself so that.
Commissioners, this is from the Friends of Gumbo Limbo from Jim Miller, current president. Madam Chair and Commissioners, the agenda for the January 19th Beach and Park District meeting includes a proclamation in honor of Gordon Gilbert. As Chair of the Board of Trustees of Friends of Gumbo Limbo, it is a privilege to share this correspondence on behalf of our board trustees and the whole of our organization. Gordon Gilbert, the founder of Gumbo Limbo, celebrates his 90th birthday on January 27th, continuing active in our community. Gordon came to Boca in 1965 and took Boca High students on field trips to the Barrier Island before any of the Barrier Island had been turned into a park. He joined other residents and worked on the program that financed and purchased property for the Spanish River, Red Reef, and South Beach parks. A committed educator, Gilbert taught biology at Boca High until the mid-70s, then transitioned into teaching environmental and marine science to 3rd, 5th, and 7th graders in a picnic shelter at Spanish River Park. With help from the city, the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District, and the Palm Beach County School District, he opened the Gumbo Limbo Nature Center in 1984. With his continued commitment, participation, and support, it has become a treasure of the city and the community. Mr. Gilbert continued to serve as a commissioner or chairman of the Beach and Parks District from 1978 to 2008, and was reappointed in July 2018 to the city's Parks and Recreation Board for his 23rd two-year term. On the occasion of Gordon Gilbert's 90th birthday, we as Friends want to thank and honor him and wholeheartedly support a proclamation by the Beach and Park District recognizing his immeasurable contributions. Sincerely, Jim Miller, 480 East Boca Raton Road, Boca Raton.
Are there any calls that are coming in?
I do see hands raised.
Okay.
I have a public comment when I'm called on. I'm not
Phone-
sure of the protocol.
The phone number that ends in 8004 is on first.
Okay, that's me. My name's Anthony Siliberti, and I live at 6200 Northwest 2nd Avenue, Boca Raton, 33487. I just wanted to make a public comment about the Ocean Breeze property. Since it's being 212 acres, that I'm a president of Condo 4, but obviously I don't speak for the whole condo association, but I think everyone feels that it's going to be best used as a multi-use park at this point, if all things go through on the other on the donation side. One thing that I would like to suggest, and I'm not sure if commissioners have thought about it, is like, you know, the sister city of Delray Beach has the tennis center, and I've been there many times. It's nicely run. It has a few pickleball courts. As opposed to that, I would think that given the popularity of pickleball, having a Boca Raton pickleball center with mainly pickleball courts and maybe a couple tennis courts, maybe not, but having more of a pickleball center as opposed to what they have. And I think would be a nice add-on with two neighboring cities that they offer both. And from what I understand, it's successful in both areas. And since it's 212 acres, and I would think, I'm not positive, but pickleball would be perfect to put in there in some facet of it, that to have some outdoor, maybe some indoor, and some maybe covered pickleball courts would be pretty much ideal because of the popularity. I do play a lot on 18th Street in the southernest, most easternest park. That's Hillsborough Del Rio, I think is the proper name, but it is in Boca, right at the edge there, and it's always packed. So I just wanted to throw that out there, maybe plant the seed, and hopefully somebody can cultivate it a little bit. That's it.
Thank you. Melissa?
Mr. Galanis, you're up.
Yeah, hey, hi, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Greg.
So Greg Galanis, 1780 Southwest 22nd Ave, Boca Raton, Florida. I want to thank you guys for your continued efforts, for all you do. I have not been participating in meetings over the last 30 or 60 days, but I've stayed current, and it looks like the city has expressed some interest in golf. And while we are appreciative, the golfers of Michael Dell and the Boca Resort donating Boca Country Club to the city for the new public golf course effective October 1 of this year, there still is a huge void and a huge need, which is a quality executive golf course and practice area. And it is our hope that this body can come together and agree on what to do with the property that meets the community's needs. I understand that we're exploring the west side now, and we're looking at the property as a whole from a holistic basis for recreation, which is good. And certainly the folks at Boca Chica have a vested interest and need to weigh in. But there is a significant void in the market for a high-end quality executive golf course and practice area and driving range. The new course has very limited practice facilities, and we've got upwards of 120 women in the city that play regularly on the executive course at Boca Muni that is going away October 1 of next year. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Melissa?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me? Good.
Yes, who is this, please?
This is Raul Travieso. Sorry.
Hey, Ro.
I got a message to unmute myself, so I did. I didn't hear my name, however. Anyway, good evening, commissioners. I'm Raul Travieso, as I mentioned. I'm the Florida Southeast Pickleball Ambassador and President of the Boca Raton Pickleball Club. For over 40 years, my wife and I have lived at 1037 West Royal Palm Road. And again, I greatly appreciate the opportunity to speak before you. Just to mention about Mr. Gilbert, little kudos. I was a senior in Boca High in 1971, and he was my biology teacher. And I know that he's an awesome public servant, but he was also an outstanding instructor. I'd like to begin by wishing each of you and your families the most happiest and healthiest of New Year's. At this time, I want to mention that the courts at the El Rio Hillsborough Park continue to be very popular, and our players are social distancing and wearing masks when not playing. Thanks to this commission, and especially Mr. Ernst, we are anxiously awaiting the conversion of the 2 tennis courts into 6 pickleball courts at Patchogue Park. Construction has begun and our players are awaiting the ribbon cutting ceremony for those 6 courts. And I think it's gonna be, scheduled sometime in early March. The exploding growth of the sport is undeniable. You can't even turn on the TV without seeing an advertisement for new communities that doesn't show pickleball as their primary amenity. In fact, almost every gated community within the Boca Raton area have dedicated pickleball courts. Other residents and visitors have a strong need for courts to play on. That's us regular folks that don't live in gated communities. The game has developed a passionate following due to its friendly social nature and its multi-generational appeal. A premier pickleball center would be a destination spot for players and tourists and bring additional revenues to our retailers, restaurants, and hotels. For example, when my wife and I go for a couple of days on a staycation, we often go to Naples or Daytona, which are meccas for the sport. I play pickleball and she shops and spends all my money. Then we go out to dinner and then we relax in our hotel room. Pickleball certainly brings in revenue. As we return to normality, I wish to take a few minutes to again recommend 3 possible venues to handle the growing demand for additional pickleball courts. As Anthony mentioned, he spoke about Ocean Breeze as being a possibility. We think our club members and resident adults and children deserve a premier pickleball center. The property at Ocean Breeze, the Boca Raton Country Club, or the Spanish River Athletic Complex would be ideal venues for a 16 court, and we're recommending a 16 court covered and lighted outdoor complex. In a premier center, pickleball could be taught to children and adults alike. Leagues could be developed, competitions could be conducted, equipment could be sold, and player memberships and fees would provide the city with additional revenues. The newly acquired Boca Country Club has 10 lighted tennis courts and 4 non-lighted courts at the club. The courts have a clay surface, which must be removed to the gravel foundation in order to restructure or resurface with asphalt. However, some of the infrastructure is already there. It would be wonderful if half of the existing tennis courts were to be converted to pickleball and just put an industrial cover over them. Of course, if pickleball courts were to be built at Ocean Breeze or the Spanish River Complex, they would be constructed from ground up. Again, we realize that a joint, collaborative, and fully supported project between the city and the Beach and Parks District is essential to build this premier pickleball center. We are humbly requesting your consideration for a pickleball center at either the Ocean Breeze property, the Boca Raton Country Club, or the Spanish River Athletic Complex. We've got to get in front of this ever-growing demand for pickleball. It's the fastest growing sport in the nation. We believe that it's imperative that the district and the city plan to meet this ever-growing demand of pickleball for the residents of Boca Raton. Again, as always, we are here to share our suggestions and comments. And Happy New Year, and thank you for your attention regarding this matter.
Thank you, Raul. Okay, Melissa. Brianne, do you see any other hands?
I do not.
Okay. Public requests are now closed. It's time for the approval of the meeting of the minutes for the regular hybrid meeting on January 4th, 2021. It's found on page 3 of your agenda packet. Do I hear a motion, please?
So moved.
Second, please. Mr. Rollins seconded, Brianne.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Brianne, would you do the roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Brianne. Our first item of business is the Explorium Exhibit Contract Amendment found on page 11 of your agenda packet. Brianne, would you like to lead us off?
Yes, I keep checking to see if I'm muted or not. We spoke about this at our last meeting, and I got some direction to go back and get some added language about closures. So that is section 4.0 on this document this is for the Mindbender Mansion that would be moved to fall of 2022. So instead of taking this exhibit this year, when we don't know where we're going to stand, we would move this exhibit. We wouldn't owe any money, any future payments on this until next fiscal year.
Commissioners, do you have any comments or questions for Brianne?
No. Madam
Are
Chair.
you happy with that?
Yep. I'd like to motion to approve it,
Okay.
but I think Commissioner Rollins.
Would you unmute yourself, Bob? Thank you.
The comments in the minutes reflected that we were asking for this cancellation clause to be in the event of a pandemic or a state of emergency, and the amendment seems to be just relative to COVID. So my question is, it was our intention to have not only COVID mentioned, but a pandemic or other state of emergency to give us the flexibility to cancel this agreement.
We do have that in the original agreement if there's a hurricane or something along those lines, and then they gave us a 90-day out.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we have a motion. We need a second.
Second.
Okay, I think Mr. Rollins weighed in first. Any other comments? Brianne, would you do the roll call vote, please?
Yes. Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Brianne. The second item is the RFI for Ocean Breeze. Brianne, would you like to lead us off, please?
Yes. I think our packets say page 23, but it's actually page 13 in your agenda packets. At our board meeting on November 16th, we had a motion that was made and passed unanimously by everybody to put out an RFI for the Boca Chica property. The following meeting, the board then wanted to go out and do master plan design services, but we never took any action on that motion. So tonight, that is here tonight for your discussion and to take some action on that motion as it was made.
Okay.
And the RFI, I'm sorry, Commissioner Vogelsang, our RFI that we wrote is on page 14. And just so everybody understands, this can be put out on social media. We could do a press release. We could put it on our website, and we can open this up. We can change the dates. It's very flexible.
Okay, thank you, Brianne. And Mr. Ernst, would you like to lead us off? Any comments?
Sure. Madam Chair, when we discussed this in November, the intent was to have something very general and to give a sufficient time just to get community feedback of ideas, very similar to what was done for when the city was looking at alternatives for the golf course. And the concept is when we purchased this property, it had a hotel on it. And it also was the intent of us to build a golf course. We didn't know what we were going to have. Given that the city has, proceeded and it will likely close to have the golf course at the Boca Country Club, it makes sense to engage the community to get their ideas, and it doesn't commit us to anything, but you'll get a flood of different ideas on it. And I think it's something that we should just start and get the ideas out there. Then we can go to more of a definition of a master plan and defining what we want, what the city wants, what the residents of Boca Chica would like, and take into consideration the needs assessment. Many parties are involved, and I think it's better to have a transparent process to start gathering some of those ideas of what could be. In its current form, it's pretty unlikely we're going to have 2 golf courses next to one another. Could there also be a short course and a driving range? Possibly. But there are other ideas out there that we should at least explore, and we should also explore things with our city partner.
Thank you, Mr. Ernst. Mr. Rollins?
I guess the question I have is, why would we use an RFI, and who would collect the information and who would analyze the information, rather than having an RFP for an architectural firm like we've used in the past to be the depository of those comments and then help us with the design based upon those comments. And I think we talked about having an RFP at one time, and I thought we had agreed to do that rather than the RFI. I think that doing an RFI is a little looser arrangement. I don't know that it offers any more flexibility, but it certainly does require staff and someone to collate and present these ideas to us. The purpose of the RFI for the city was really more in the sense of trying to find out if there was a more economical way for us to do the golf course, which ultimately, I think we got down to the $8 million the city was looking for, but there was a lot of things that were left out, and ultimately the 14 million that we had been requested to get to, we did. But I think that was based upon a design concept that was out there that was being analyzed by the number that participated in the RFI. I frankly think that this just may postpone us having to make a decision, because I think we'll end up hiring an architectural firm and to bring these ideas together. Whereas if you had this firm in the first place, I think that you might be a little bit further down the track than if you did the RFI first. That's just from my prior experience, I think the RFP probably would work better.
Madam Chair, may I
Okay.
respond to that?
Mr. Engel had his hand up, and then I'll get back to you.
I thought the idea of the RFI was to figure out what it was that we wanted to build, what the community wanted. It's my impression that if we hire an architectural firm, we already have an idea of what we want on the property, and it's up to the architectural firm to give us a plan as to how it's going to be built, what components we need, et cetera. So maybe Bob is right, but from where I sit, I think we need to find out what the community wants, and having done that and arrived at a decision as to what we want on the property, then we hire an architectural firm.
Okay, Mr. Ernst, we'll come back to you, and then we'll get with Commissioner Wright.
Maybe Commissioner Wright.
Commissioner Wright, would
yeah.
you like to weigh in, please?
Sure. Well, so the RFP for the master planner is going to, the master plan, the architect is not going to come in and tell us what we're going to have. They're going to come in and bring in the concepts from the community and the needs assessment and the meetings that we have to develop the master plan ideas that we can have there. The RFI is going to be companies coming in and saying, this is what you can build. It's not going to be ideas from the community for the RFI. That's not what an RFI is. It's asking companies to come up with ideas on what we can build. We don't want ideas from other companies. We want the ideas from the community and the residents, right? So that's the point of the RFP, I thought, for a master planner to come in and take the ideas of the community to develop the master plan on what we need and want for the city.
Okay. Mr. Ernst?
Well, I think all of the above. It's an element of it, but what I guess Steve articulated it closest to what I envisioned. I believe it is our duty. We are the elected officials to kind of lead the plan of what will ultimately go there, but I don't think we can do it ourselves. And I think the city plays a critical role in it. The city elected, the Boca Chica residents, and the needs assessment and the guide. I would be very uncomfortable with hiring a consultant in an RFP basis and letting them decide and tell us what they think would be the right thing to go there. My limited experience of watching the city do this and others do it, we have to give them very specific direction on their plan of what they would do. So the concept here was to gather an RFI. It may result in a public-private partnership for any number of things, but it flushes out those ideas in a public, transparent way. From there, we will decide what we want to do, and then we will go for an architectural firm who will help further flush out what we're doing at what point in time. And it may be just a smaller portion of the property that we do that on.
Mr. Rollins?
I guess folks don't understand the process of an RFP. When you hire a firm, you take the next step of holding charrettes, and that's what we've done in the past. That's where you get the community input. Then you have somebody that's actually collating the values. They're not telling us what they want to put there. We're the ones that are directing their efforts through the community charrettes that we have, because we'll hear the community. They'll hear them, the architectural firm will hear those. And then once we agree upon what those components are, they'll do the design work for us. I mean, I think Aaron is correct in how this process would work. The RFI, I think, just, in my opinion, is probably going to slow us down because ultimately we'll have to get an architectural firm involved. So why not do that up front with input from the community? It's not something that they will come in here and tell us, or you can do this or you can do that. But we will host the charrettes as has been done, I think, with EDSA. The city did the same thing with EDSA in coming up with plans for the waterfront community. So I'm still appreciate Commissioner Ernst's comments and Steve's about the RFI, but I think would be better served if we did an RFP, and I think that would expedite the process.
Madam.
Well, before we go any farther, until we have that amended ILA back from the city, are we just throwing good money after bad by doing anything at this point, other than having community input in the form of charrettes? Mr. Gorin, could you weigh in on that?
I can try, Madam Chair. You've all raised the bar on the issue of what to do and how to do it. I was at the meeting when Commissioner Ernst made his motion, which is adopted by the board with regard to this option. And correctly so, Commissioner Rollins has stated that there's a distinction between an RFI, request for information, kind of like letters of interest, and an RFP, which is a little more concrete and a little more congealed in the context of a plan. To the extent that the ILA revised that we prepared at your direction has been delivered to the city of Boca Raton, I don't recall having received a call from anybody at my office yet regarding its contents or its meaning. Regrettably, I've not heard back from anybody in City Hall as your general counsel. Our office is not. And to the extent that the document recognizes that the golf course project may have changed quite a bit, given the nature of the city's voluntary acquisition or donation, better said. So I suspect that you as the board can discretionarily make a decision as to how you want to approach it. If you go through the RFP process and you ask for proposals to engage an outside consultant, an expert, whether it be an architect or a planner or some combination of both, you will spend public money on that particular expert, and that expert will help you to define that which you're trying to accomplish. So the RFI option may be a less costly option, only to the extent that you're not engaging in the outside professional, but you're going to self-correlate and collate information and data that may come in your way, including charrettes as the case may be. So if that's helpful, I hope it has been. The RFI process, again, is a little more general and more broadly interpretive. The RFP process becomes more definitive with the engagement of third parties that would otherwise be directed by your motions.
Thank you, Mr. Gorin.
Yes, ma'am.
Personally, I'm just very wary about putting money back into this, this project until we have direction from the city. I don't want to engage somebody and like we did Price Fazio and spend a lot of money and then have the city come back and say, you know, we don't approve this. So tell me if I'm wrong.
I think you're right. You know, we've been down this road before with the city, especially with ILAs. The ball essentially is in the city's court, and we really can't do anything until we get at least some feedback on what we submitted to the city. We're just going to have to sit on our hands for a while until the city gets back to us and says, okay, we agree, we're fine with what you want to do, or we want to change A, B, and C.
Mr. Rollins?
Yeah, I think in either case of RFI or RFP, I think would be better suited to wait for the ILA to come back from the city and get that issue resolved rather than taking the time of the individuals to come up with the information for Ocean Breeze under an RFI, which without the approval of this amended ILA, we can't tell them what components to leave out or include in their submission of the RFI. So whether it's an RFP or an RFI, I think we may be premature in trying to go forward with a motion.
Thank you. Mr. Ernst, you had your hand up? You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
There you go. Madam Chair, I would like to go forward with the RFI now because I think we've wasted enough time on this. And personally, I'm saying that it makes the assumption on an RFP that we are developing everything in 212 acres. And I don't think we're in a position to develop all 212 acres. And I believe that it's with the city, Boca Chica, you have to have a lot of different parts on it. And by having an RFI, you're at least getting everyone transparently to get those ideas. And you may come across a public-private partnership, whether it's for a tennis center, a pickleball center, or for anything else. At least you have that idea on the table. Then you can further define it with city staff and with the Boca Chica. You've got something to do charrettes on. And then you can go to your RFP for an architect to say, we are going to design this corner or this area. And I don't think we're going to waste time. I think it's to our benefit to do this now and to have a timeline on it that is fair and give them at least 3 months to respond on it. As far as the ILA goes, we'll get it back in time, but look, this is our second meeting in January and we don't have it. So if we can go to February and we can keep on waiting for it, and then what are we going to do? We're going to go to an architect and tell them, figure out what they can do with 212 acres. I think you create a bigger problem. It is our responsibility to work with the community. And then once we have a direction, we will narrow it down and move forward.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Wright? Oh, Mr. Rollins, sorry.
Yeah, I don't think any of us have a vision on how much of this project we're going to develop at any one time. I still strongly feel that we need the RFP. I respect Commissioner Ernst's comments, but I really feel like the RFI is not the path that I want to go down. But I think also, I think Mike Week mentioned that we would have the amended RLI in a week or so. Is that not right, Brianne? I mean,
that was what I was told, yes.
Okay, and I think that time is up. Would you follow up with him about that, please?
Yes, I was going to talk about that in my reports. I also attended their workshop and sought to get City Council to support the return of that amendment. But I have not heard anything since then, and that was last Monday.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Wright?
I'm just still confused on who's coming up with these ideas for your RFI, Craig. I mean, you're saying community members are going to be coming up with things for your RFI. It's going to be companies that are giving the ideas on what they think we should have at our space. That's who's going to be telling us. And then I just think we should have a blank slate and then go to the public and say, what do you want and what do we need? That was how I envisioned it going, not opening up an RFI and saying, well, companies, what do you think we can do here? It seems like a backwards thing to do.
I don't see it that way. I see it as, yes, it could be a company, it could be any number of entities that could come forward with the ideas, and they can go in tandem. When you define your ideas, you have to start with a master plan of ideas and what you want, but you're not going to know everything. And so inviting other parties to bring that to the table is a very valuable thing. You don't know what's going to come out there. So you call them companies, I call them public-private partnerships. It's no different than Nadell. What if the Nadell Associates were to say, we'd like to have a tennis center there? Your current process is I'm going to have an RFP for a specific area.
No, that's not what the RFP is. It's getting a master planner to come in, gather all the ideas from the public and from the needs assessment, not to develop necessarily a specific plan, but to come up with ideas on the different things that we can do.
And I think there's a time and a place for that to do that, but look what happened with the waterfront master plan or with the downtown, they have a special name for it. Those are nice things, but you need to get the business community as well and others involved to say what interest is there. And by the way, you don't have to take anything. You may come away with it. I don't like the Nadell Tennis Center. It's too big, so we don't want to have that over there. But this area has the opportunity to be a destination. And if you think that we as a public entity will make that destination entity by ourselves, I kind of question it. I think it's better to at least
I don't
explore
think
it.
that's what anybody is thinking, that we're going to do it by ourselves. But we're not making it a destination for New Yorkers to come down and enjoy our park. It's for the city of Boca residents and the district residents to enjoy our park, their destination, nobody else's destination. So I don't know if you have already ideas on what you think you're going to put there. That's what it sounds like.
I do not have any preconceived notions. No, but you're shutting something down to say that what are we going to develop? I don't know what we're going to develop. I don't know what the partnerships are out there or anything. I'm just saying get some ideas first. It's 212 acres. It's not going to be 212 acres park. I don't know. We may decide that it's going to be half forest. I don't know. I think this is where you at least get some ideas. You're going to have to do both, is what I'm suggesting. This is the low-cost option to get some ideas on the table that you can further discuss, rather than having it, going behind the doors or everything. It's right in the public.
I don't think anybody was thinking of going behind the doors with anything.
No, we weren't. And you said low cost. I mean, what kind of a cost are you anticipating, Craig?
I don't anticipate us paying any cost to it. It's getting the ideas flushed out there that we can come back and discuss. And it's a free service, but when I mean go behind the doors, I mean the whole nonsense of what happened at Ocean Strand. It's like, okay, here's Ritz-Carlton going on. That was never publicly discussed. And then it kind of all of a sudden is, here's the plans. Okay, that's what I mean. I'm talking about let's have public input and let's have it in a transparent way. This is an opportunity to gather information at no cost and it may come out with a good idea, it may yield nothing. But in the meantime, if you want to wait around for the RFP on a master architectural planner, I think you're delegating your responsibility to another party to get public ideas. That's a way of going, but I would rather have some ideas to give them. And then we can further debate them and let them carry those ideas out to fruition.
Mr. Engel.
Yeah, what I'm hearing here is from Commissioner Ernst is kind of like a hybrid RFI charrette type of thing, where we get ideas from the community, we get ideas from different companies as to what they want to see. I'm still of the opinion that we need to get back from the city. We need to get the ILA back from the city. But aside from that, what comes to mind is the first plan unveiled by EDSA for their waterfront master plan, which included a restaurant at Ocean Strand, something that nobody in the neighborhood wanted and something I wasn't even aware of, before it was presented. So I don't know if going to a consultant as an idea in general is going to generate what we're looking for. I think we need to continue to hear from the community. An RFI asking companies to come in will get all kinds of stuff without giving them direction and just saying, listen, we have 212 acres. We want to develop a recreational facility. What do you think should go in here? And God only knows what we'll get back. And will it be a worthwhile endeavor to hear? I mean, we're going to have to go through maybe stuff like heliports or building, a minor league ballpark as somebody once envisioned for another piece of property. Who knows? But anyway, that's my 25 cents. I think I took more than my 2 cents worth there.
Thank you. Mr. Rollins.
Yeah. First of all, for those in the audience that may be listening, is that there never has been a lack of transparency with this board, and I don't ever anticipate there will be. And I kind of, I'm somewhat offended that there's any reference to the lack of transparency in the past. But with a person that you hire as a master planner doesn't just take our ideas, they're getting the ideas from the public through either charrettes. Now, sure, it's going to cost us some money to put somebody like that together, but I think we'll be further along once that process starts. And I still of the opinion that without the revised ILA, there'd be some things that would be limited on that property from anybody that's doing an RFI. What do we tell them? Right now, it's just limited to a golf course. And I hope that we'll get something back from the city as much as they have acquired Boca Country Club that will allow us to be creative with that property, and I'm sure they will. But with a person who's helping you with the master plan, there is transparency because you will have public input to these people, and they will collate the information, and then we're the one that decides what goes in there, not the person who is handling the master planning process. And whether we master plan the west side only or with the east side included, that's something that we could decide upon at some point. But I think that I don't like to defer this until we get the ILA back from the city, but I think it's probably smart that we do, and hopefully in a week or so we'll have that.
Commissioners, would you be amenable to deferring this to our first meeting in February with the hope that we do get the ILA back, and maybe encouraging the city to, because since City Council has to approve the amended ILA, maybe encouraging the city to kind of move along, have Rianne call, and possibly even have Mr. Gorin call to see how we can step this up, and then defer this. Yes, Mr. Ernst.
Madam Chair, I'd like to call to motion that we go forward with the RFI. And I choose to suggest that if we wait for the ILA or we wait for other things, we simply don't know what the city will do, nor do we know other information, and it's going to further delay things. We've already lost 2 months of information, and what's the point? It really is very simple.
Is that a motion?
My motion is to move forward with the RFI, modifying the date to allow for 4 months or 3 months, 3 months until we get information back and close it.
Okay, do I hear a second? You're muted, Commissioner Wright.
There was echo in the first part. I didn't hear the first part of what he said.
Would you repeat, please?
Yeah, I make a motion to move forward with the RFI, allowing 3 months for potential participants to respond.
Do we have a second? Okay, hearing none. Would you be amenable to deferring it to the first meeting in February with the hope that we have the amended ILA?
I have no choice. I have no seconds.
Okay, all right. Brianne, would you put that on as a future agenda item, please?
Madam Chair, a quick question, please.
Yes, sir.
In the deferral, are you also within the deferral also requesting that your professional staff make inquiry of the city regarding the status of that ILA in the context of where we are this evening with no response of any kind from the city?
Do we need a motion on that, Mr. Gorin?
It would be helpful because this way the record will reflect that you're deferring a specific matter of business of the entity, of the agency, subject to the need to hear back from the city of Boca Raton, which has gone silent.
Could I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Okay, so we're not going to direct staff or council. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Gorin. Okay, the approval of payroll and invoices found on page 47 of your agenda packet. Mr. Ernst?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion for approval of payroll and invoices for the amount of $30,000. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, for $30,304.45.
I've got
Second.
32 on here, on mine.
Let's go to the
Payroll and invoices.
Let's go to the agenda then. 'Cause what I have is different.
I have 32, 5, 78, 43.
Yeah.
Let's go to 32,578.43.
Okay, and
I think
Mr.
I have a
Engel,
little
you
preliminary.
seconded?
I'll second the 32 and change.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments? Brianne, would you do a roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Okay. Reports and discussion items. First up is Executive Director Harms.
Commissioners, an update on the pickleball courts. The asphalt is down. It takes about 30 days for that to cure. So while that is happening, they are going to put in the fencing and continue some of the side work. We still anticipate finishing the pickleball courts in February. The pipes and pumping bids are due back on January 27th, so no update there, just waiting on those bids to come back. We have a meeting scheduled with the city and the Friends of Gumbo Limbo regarding the tower project for Thursday, January 28th, sort of a launch for the bids to go out there, I believe. We have a meeting this Thursday with Pros Consulting Firm and city staff to review the needs assessment and discuss the next steps. One of those next steps will be eventually a joint meeting or a joint presentation with City Council as well as you all. That was part of the process. At the workshop last week, Deputy Mayor O'Rourke suggested a joint meeting. So hopefully that's something that everybody will be amenable to at some point. On the ILA amendment, there's been nothing back. I did speak at the council workshop, which I think I've discussed with each of you and had a chance to recap. I have not heard anything back from city staff about the ILA or the amendment. I did check the city's websites for their agendas. They have meetings next week, but those agendas have not yet been posted for their workshop or their council meeting. Ocean Strand has sort of become complicated in the permitting process and the approval process. So we're working with the city staff on that. We're trying to get to the right people and trying to get some information from the city. We filled out some applications today and hopefully we can continue moving that forward. On the issue with the Palm Beach Commission on Ethics, I spoke with the executive director, Mark Bannon, who informed me that since we are an independent independent special district governed by the state, we are not able to, they could not provide services to us. So what I did do, since we can't subscribe to the Palm Beach Ethics Commission, I put a page on our website titled Ethics, and it includes links to the State Commission on Ethics, as well as the form and the phone number that if anybody wants to file a complaint, they can call that number. It's right on our website, or fill out the form directly through our website. Also, just an update, there was some discussion at the last meeting about paying off our bond early with the city, and we couldn't pay off that bond early without a penalty until 2027. The way it's set up now, you can obviously negotiate those penalty fees with the lender. I don't know what that would be, but we are going to do some research and speak with Jerry Ford and see if we could get some insight into what he would suspect that those penalty fees might be, just to answer some of the public questions on that issue. And then finally, we had the bridge at Swim and Racket Center inspected. We have that done every couple of years. The engineering firm Bolton Perez and Associates came back today with no significant issues there. So people are safe to walk across the lake still to get to the tennis center. And that's all my updates.
Thank you, Brianne. General Counsel, our District Counsel, Mr. Gorin.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Good evening again. Just a quick update with regard to the Governor's Executive Order number 20-316. Jacob may have given you a quick briefing, but Governor DeSantis did enter 20-316 on December the 29th of this past year of 2020. And what that order does, it extends Executive Order 20-52, which is the statewide emergency declaration, which was issued back in March of this past year. The difference is that this order, which is a place on which we hang our legal hat on behalf of the commission here to have our virtual quorums and virtual meetings in the context of how we're conducting the hybrid of that, essentially extends it for 60 days, which based on our calculations would end towards the end of February. We have no reason to believe the governor would not extend 20-52. And so long as we currently have a current physical quorum in the room, which we do, we believe that the hybrid model will be still consistent with the state executive orders. To the extent possible, I'm happy to answer any questions about that. But at the moment, with a physical quorum present and with public access being freely offered and the opportunity to comment, whether it be by email or by phone or by any other means, we are fulfilling our obligations pursuant to Chapter 286, the Sunshine Law, as well as the Florida Constitution. I'm happy to answer any questions for you. And just as a side note, I have not heard back from anyone from Boca Raton either with regard to the delivery through Brianne by your directions of the draft ILA, which is the modified version, which is highly compatible with what I believe the city was expecting from this organization, this entity, and is consistent with the directions given by the full board. So I'm happy to answer questions. Otherwise, thank you for the opportunity as always, and I stand ready to answer questions.
Does anyone have a question for Mr. Gorin?
Nice to see you all. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gorin. Okay, commissioners' reports. Steve, would you like to start us off?
Sure. I just have one question for Brianne relating to the Palm Beach County Code of Ethics. Would it be possible to get a written determination from the chair of the Ethics Board, or the County Ethics Board, stating that they have no jurisdiction over us because we're a state agency?
I'll talk to them about that. Sure.
Okay. Other than that, I'm fine.
Okay, good. Mr. Rollins?
Have nothing to discuss, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes, I have a couple of things. So recently, I've been on a bunch of open houses for some of the Palm Beach County District schools because I have a middle schooler starting next year. So, and I was on one for Verde K through 8, and I found it interesting that they have no sports programs available for middle schoolers. And this is mainly due to not having any facilities, basically. And my love of sports all started in middle school. I feel like it's a really important time in terms of athletic development. So I contacted Mr. Moldovan and Brianne to kind of set up a discussion about how we can possibly help in this. Basically, a swim and racket center is within walking distance of Verde Elementary. And we have tennis courts and a swimming pool that the kids could use in terms of swimming and tennis. So we basically figured out that the times that would be available to the school is the time, Brianne, you want to help me out with this? Like there is times that are available between like 3 and 5 o'clock that it's kind of slow there. So we thought maybe Verde Elementary students could possibly use these facilities. And so I wanted to kind of throw it out to you guys to see if you guys would think this would be a good idea.
There's two parts to this also. There's the,
well, yeah, and then there's they also have a huge piece of land behind Verde Elementary, which I had no idea was there. That is, they have like kind of like a makeshift soccer field on one side and a big open field with like an old baseball diamond that's not even in use right now on the other side. That could possibly be used to develop a couple of soccer fields that the school could use, and also the city of Boca Raton could also use. So that would be another part of it that I wanted Brianne to kind of look into with the district. The Palm Beach County District School, they own that piece of property. So we wanted to look into how it was done with Don Estridge and how we paid for the development of the fields. Brianne wasn't sure if the district, the Palm Beach County District developed it and we paid for it, or we developed it and paid for it. So we wanted to see if there was an opportunity there to have a couple of soccer fields that the city of Boca Raton could also use and Verde could use. Other schools don't have that piece of land. I mean, Addison has like 0 land. But now they're middle school, and I feel like that's a really important time in terms of athletic development. So I thought, let's see if we can help them out. So.
and the middle school component of Verde is a choice program. So it's a small number of middle school students involved. I think it's just a little over 100 middle schooler students, if that's
right
is
now
that right?
for 6th
Right.
grade. And then next year it'll be 200. And then I think max, it's going to be around 300 kids in the middle school.
So right now they're looking to, for short term, is use about 2 or 3 tennis courts in the after school hours between 3 and 5, and then also the pool. And those are quiet times. I spoke with Paul, who oversees the Swim and Racket Center, just to talk to him about those times. And he agreed that those are very quiet times at the facility, that it's not being utilized. So there is potential there to work that out as a first part of this. And then the second part of this would be to talk to the school district about the property behind there and what they wanted, and if it was something we wanted to get involved with.
Mr. Rollins was reading my mind.
Yeah, for many years, we supported Verde with a stipend for their sports facilities back there, Aaron. And I don't know how that was discontinued, except I seem to recall that the community at large had difficulty using the facilities for whatever reason, parking or fact it was not lighted. But certainly I think these kids are entitled to a place to play. And if there's areas back there in some way that we can help, I would certainly want to do that to the extent as possible. I don't know how much usage the community might get out of it, at the community at large, just because of its location and the fact that I don't know that you'd be able to put lights on that in the middle of the homes back there. But I'm not familiar with the area enough to know that. But I would certainly be willing to help in some way.
Well, so the parking has been, it shouldn't be a problem because it was just rebuilt. So there's a huge parking lot there now. And there is actually, Seth showed us, he's Mr. Moldovan, Seth Moldovan. There's a separate entrance from the parking area that you don't have to go through the school or anything. It just leads you right back to the back area. And it's almost kind of like Woodlands Park. Woodlands is lit. And the lighting that we have now is probably better than it was before, when Woodlands was built and the lights were put in there. So I don't see it being an issue. I think there's probably maybe 20 homes that are along that fence line there. And then there's a huge lake that's next door that the school is going to try to use for cross country and stuff like that. So I think it's just a really good opportunity for us. And I do think the city would be able to use those fields with the access that they have now in the parking lot that they have, like for weekend games and things like that.
Yep.
Mr. Rollins, do you remember how we structured everything when we did, when Don Estridge was developed?
I was scratching my head as to whether or not we did the developing or not. I know that we certainly are responsible for the maintenance of that property over there, but I just can't remember. I do have someone I know that I can contact and find out about that, but I think Aaron has a good point. I think that we should explore that facility. We don't have enough open spaces for kids to play at the time that they want, and I think we definitely need to do something that would encourage that over at Verde. I don't know. Would the school district maintain that property, Aaron, or have they even talked about that?
No, so Brianne this is the discussion to start, to have her go talk to the district and see how we could do it. We maintained Don Estridge, so maybe it would be easier to just tack this on and we maintain it. I don't know. That's kind of why I brought this up, to see, so she can go talk to the district and see our options.
Yeah, well, I think we should explore those options. Long term, I think also, this could be another opportunity for us to interface with the school district. And I would certainly ask for them to help with some of the maintenance. If we're going to build the property and pay for it, I think hopefully they would contribute something to the ongoing maintenance like they do at Don Estridge. And hopefully we can get more than a more proportionate share than we get now from the school district. And fortunately, Tom Lynch was the one supporter who was a chairman at the time, was able to give us something toward the maintenance, but clearly every little bit helps, I guess. But I think we should take a look at what we can do over there and how to make it happen. Good point, Aaron.
Mr. Engel?
Sorry, I just want to ask Bob what he thought about the kids using Swim and Racket Center as well.
Oh, if it's available, heck yeah. I think it's
Okay.
great. We might develop the next best tennis player coming out of this.
You never know.
Or swimmer.
Or
Mr.
swimmer.
Engel?
Yeah, just a general question. Does the district have organized sports for middle schoolers, or is
It depends on the school.
So there are other middle schools in the district that do have.
Oh, yeah,
organized-
absolutely. But this program has just started because Verde was just built. So before it was an elementary school. Now it's K through 8. So this is an ideal time as sixth graders are moving into seventh grade to start to slowly develop the program. And even Mr. Moldovan said, these are feeder schools for Boca High and Spanish River. Those coaches are going to want to get involved before those kids even get there. So if he can bring in a couple of assistant coaches or something, to coach some tennis or some swimming or cross country at Verde Middle School at the K through 8, they could, find some talent even before those kids get to high school. So
Yeah, I have no problem with it at all. I think it's great. My kids were involved way back in the day when they were kids. Back then we called middle school. Well, no, actually we called it middle school. Take that back. I was going to say junior high school. But I think it's a great way to build kids' confidence. It's a great way to, who knows, we may have, the next Olympic gold medalist for maybe the 2032 Olympics. I think it's great. And I'm all for it. We just I would like the district to partake, whether it's in helping us with the maintenance or helping us with the development of the property. But I think it's a great idea.
Mr. Gorin, do we need a motion from Commissioner Wright to direct? Staff?
Craig wanted to say something.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Craig.
You're muted.
One thought is that both idea, I think it's a very good idea to pursue both aspects, swim and racket, as well as investing in facilities or working for the executive director to pursue some kind of partnership. Right behind that, though, will also be the Addison Meisner School. So I think in the conversation, we should be encouraging how do we work with them to have a facility, whether it's at Sugar Sand. The next step is, for both areas, and to partner with the school district. But let's tackle the opportunity we have for sure at Verde.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Gorin. Do we need a motion from Commissioner Wright?
To be clear, Madam Chair and Commissioner, the motion would be in order just to clarify the parameters of what you're suggesting occur. It would be appropriate. Yes.
Oh God, I'm so not good at making specific motions.
No,
Okay,
but the record reflects your concept to Commissioner Wright, and I think that the
Right.
motion that you would make is consistent with what you're looking at in the context of athletic development. That's the
Yes.
global idea. I think that the
Yes.
staff can interpolate that for you with what
Okay,
we can do.
so I'd like to make a motion to have staff go ahead and discuss possible an ILA for Verde Elementary to use the facilities at Swim and Racket Center. And then also an additional motion to have staff discuss possible development of the green space behind Verde Elementary to see what options are available and to discuss how to work best together on
Do I
that.
hear a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Brianne, would you do the roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins? Is muted, but I heard a yes in this room. Commissioner Vogelsang
Yes.
and Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Okay. Erin, did you have anything else? You said you had a couple of things.
No, just those two things.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, Mr. Ernst.
Madam Chair, going back to the meeting, the comments about change of agenda in the beginning, my intent there was to recommend that we have one meeting a month separate and specifically to discuss Ocean Breeze. And the reason I think that's valuable, important for residents and for the rest of the community, that we focus on I think is one of our #1 priorities for this year, and that it makes it easier for everyone to know that we're going to talk about that at, the third Monday of the month or whenever it is, but it's very specific and we cover all issues related to Ocean Breeze at that one time.
Mr. Gorin, is this something that we can entertain? You're muted.
How about now?
That's good.
If that motion were made under the commissioner's comments, it just simply requests the potential for setting of meetings. It does not talk about the actual substance of those meetings, just the objective of trying to set them, which would be consistent with the comments of the commissioner.
So that could be a future agenda item on the first February meeting?
Yeah, we could do that. But I'll be honest with you, I'm very frustrated with the whole progress on Ocean Breeze and the way we as a body are acting with it. And so it goes back to the prior discussion on the RFI. And quite frankly, we are not going to be able to do 212 acres by ourselves. As we have found with many of these projects, it's going to take a broad community. And I think that we need to take the leadership role in it. And part of that leadership role is get information, gather information, share it with the elected officials, share it with the city, and get them on board as a partner in the whole thing. And it will not be similar to what we've done in the past with the Sugar Sand or Pat's Reef. This is a different animal. It involves too many moving parts. And I'm very frustrated that it's taking so long. And quite frankly, Raul's recommendation for a championship pickleball center is probably the best idea that is out there, whether it's at Ocean Breeze or whether it's another area. That is something that clearly Boca could benefit from, and that has to be a discussion item with city elected and others. So there's a lot of moving parts with this thing. If we're going to move this thing forward, waiting for the ILA, we'll be waiting, I think, for an awful long time. And one thing I've learned over this whole process with the golf course is it took forever to get any kind of decisions because it's simply not a priority. And we are going to be in the same role again. And I'm just disappointed that we're going to drag the poor people through Boca Chica through a process that is going to take years. And from this point on, I'm saying, put us forward a separate meeting, move this thing forward, get ideas out there. If you want to go forward and you think that the master planner is the right way to go, I'm all for whatever speeds this thing along. But it won't be us developing it because we don't have enough money to do it. That's my 2 cents. So sorry to ramble on with it, but I'm just sharing with you time we spent here from the last meeting to this meeting today on this. It seems very insufficient and moving forward, nothing.
Well, we understand your frustration, and if you could get your friends over at the city to approve the ILA, the amended ILA, then we would have a lot more latitude than we do right now. But would you prefer to have this as an agenda item on the first February meeting of the month?
Madam Chair, I'd love to have it on the first item of the agenda item for the meeting of the month of February, but I will remind you that our friends at the city, it's our friends at the city, okay, are elected officials, and they are the ones with the deeper pockets on the whole program. They are the ones who we need to work through for this whole thing. And this thing went off the rails a long time ago when this whole thing evolved with the Michael Dell Foundation thing. None of that was known to any of us at the time, but if you look back on it, maybe that's why everything was delayed so long. I don't know, but it certainly seems like it. So I think we're going to have to talk through these issues, and there's some hard issues to take conversation with. And it would also help to have at least 2 meetings with city elected to walk through these things. And it's probably going to be a reshaping of some of the things that we've done in the past between the district and the city. We really need to start fresh.
Totally agree. If we could get a joint meeting, Brianne is going to look into that with the staff at the city. It was directed by Deputy Mayor O'Rourke as well. So I think everybody is looking forward to a joint meeting. I certainly am. I'd like to get things rolling, and I think we're in a different place than we were at our last meeting, our last joint meeting. I think we all are looking to improve the property and do what's best for our community. It's not just the golfers. Yes, Commissioner Wright.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think everybody's frustrated. I think we still do need to get communication from the city on the ILA, though. I mean, you want to jump ahead, but we still do need to communicate with them if you want a partnership with them. So, but I'm confused on what you said, though. You said that we don't have money for this. We do have money for this. We have the money that we set aside to do the golf course, and we have money for this. So I don't understand what you mean by that. I would absolutely agree that would be great to get money from the city to work on this project together. But we do have money for this.
We have $5 million that we reserved for it, and keep in mind the golf course was a money.
That's this year.
For this year, and assume if we did it 3 years in a row, it'd be $5 million. If we assume that we're going to use, we've already moved up on Ocean Strand. Ocean Strand is going to be a whole nother project in itself that can easily consume $5 million by itself. The Verde Fields partnership there, another great opportunity that it's a known thing that we could work with. Easily could consume $2-3 million.
No.
So you're not going to have.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I mean, I just think
you
you're saying we don't have money to develop Ocean Breeze, but we do have money to develop Ocean Breeze.
But how much? If you're spending.
Well, we had set aside
project.
$15 million over 3 years, right? So we do have that money available over 3 years.
But those are the assumptions with a working golf course that also has revenue in it. What is your plan?
No, that didn't assume revenue from the golf course. That was $15 million that we had set
That's the
aside over a
capital
3-year
investment. I understand that, but that you have a capital cost as well as an operating cost. And so the original plan was a golf course that had a driving range and a short course and a golf course. Those are operating entities that also bring in revenue.
Agreed,
not-
but we
I
don't
don't
even
know
know
what
what
we're
we're going to
doing now.
develop. We might not even, we might spend 6 million, 5 million, 4 million to develop whatever's at Ocean Breeze. We don't know,
Agreed.
right? So, but you can't come out and say, we don't have money to develop this and we're relying on other people. We don't have to rely on other people. First, we have to figure out what we're going to build there and what the city wants and the city needs.
Well, first, we need to get the ILA approved by the city council, and then we can go forward with what we want to do and get the public input. I mean, I just don't see us putting any more money into it than we already have, and then having the city come back and say, no, you're not going to do that, or we're going to extend Jeffrey Street, whatever. We need to have that joint meeting with them to find out if they're going to do the extension of Jeffrey Street and what their plans are. So, Brianne, if you could put your pedal to the metal there and let us get that meeting, it would be very helpful.
Okay.
Okay.
And if we're all frustrated as well, we can voice our opinions to city council. We can voice our opinions. You can put calls into city staff. I mean, we are residents as well as we are elected officials. So we can call these people and tell them that we want to get moving on this. There's no harm in doing that either. So,
Good point. Good point.
Make your voice heard, not only here, but all over.
I'm in.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, future agenda items, Brianne.
Well, we have the items that we discussed tonight. We finished up the RFP that we talked about with the engineering and architect and engineering services for the master plan. We can send that out, but obviously not maybe make it an agenda item until we have the amendment back, I guess.
Okay.
And then the evaluation process for staff. Now that we've got the job descriptions approved, it's another agenda item for the future.
When would you like to have that on the agenda?
I can put it on the first meeting in February. If things shift and we get this amendment back, we may want to move that, but we can have it ready for the first in February.
Okay, that sounds good. Mr. Engel,
I move to adjourn.
do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Brianne, would you do a roll call?
Yes, keep forgetting. Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned. Please stay safe. We'll see you in February.
Yes, ma'am.